In Redding, California, Nikki Salee McCain, a devoted mother of 4, always radiated kindness and brought laughter to those around her. Yet, behind her radiant smile lay a painful truth for years. Nikki silently endured control, jealousy, and brutal beatings from her husband, Tyler McCain, then. A chilling detail shook everyone. Police found her abandoned car deep in the mountains, reeking of decay and stained with gruesome bloodstains, while Nikki vanished without a trace. What truly happened on that fateful night? Did Tyler kill Nikki to silence her before a domestic violence trial? Or is there another secret hidden behind this haunting disappearance? Redding, California, a small, peaceful city where everyone knows each other, was where Nikki Salee McCain was known as the heart of the community. Nikki Salee McCain, 39 years old, was a gentle and sincere woman. She didn't seek the spotlight, but anyone who met her remembered her warmth and the kindness she showed to everyone. In the community, Nikki was always known as someone ready to help. When the church or neighbors needed support, she was often the first to step up. To her friends, Nikki was a reliable confidant, someone anyone could turn to in times of trouble. For her family, Nikki was the center of everything. Her 4 children were her pride and her greatest priority in life, from daily care to sharing and listening. Nikki always strove to give her children a complete childhood filled with love. Then Tyler Scott McCain entered her life. At first, Tyler seemed like the perfect man for Nikki. He was charming, knew how to speak sweet words, and showed deep care. Nikki's family, who always protected her like a treasure, welcomed Tyler with open arms. They saw the smile on Nikki's face when she spoke of her husband, saw her happiness, and that was enough for them to trust him. But behind his ordinary appearance and romantic gestures, Tyler hid a secret no one could have suspected, not even Nikki, the woman who always believed in the good in people. The year 2020 marked a turning point in Nikki and Tyler McCain's marriage, a turning point that, at the time, no one in Nikki's family fully recognized as dangerous. What began as typical marital arguments gradually turned into a systematic pattern of silent but devastating violence. Chloe, Nikki's older sister, later recalled that around 2020 she began noticing small changes in her sister. Nikki, once full of energy and eager to share everything, became quieter about her marriage, their phone calls, which used to last hours filled with laughter, were now abruptly cut short. Nikki started making excuses for Tyler's strange behavior, always trying to protect his image in front of her family. At first, Nikki's family thought these were just the usual challenges every couple faces. Tyler still knew how to present himself as a decent man in their presence. He showed up at family gatherings with a bright smile, bringing gifts for the kids and acting caring toward everyone. But behind this facade, a silent war was unfolding in the small house in Redding. Accusations of infidelity began to emerge as the first pieces of a dark puzzle. Tyler frequently accused Nikki of having affairs. Despite having no evidence, these baseless accusations became his excuse to justify his increasingly controlling behavior. He began monitoring Nikki's phone, tracking her daily schedule, and isolating her from her friends. Nikki, with her desire to keep peace in the family, tried to address these issues internally. She believed love and patience could change Tyler, that the man she loved was still somewhere inside this violent person. She didn't realize she was falling into a dangerous cycle where each act of forgiveness paved the way for even worse violence. Over time, The arguments grew in both frequency and intensity. Tyler began using physical force to impose his will. What started as light shoves escalated into deliberate blows. Nikki learned to hide bruises with makeup and explain injuries as random accidents. She became an expert at crafting plausible excuses for the signs of domestic violence. Nikki's children, though young, began to sense the tense atmosphere at home. They often witnessed heated arguments, heard shouts in the night, and saw their mother with unexplained injuries. Nikki tried her best to shield her children from the psychological harm, but hiding the reality unfolding day and night in their own home was impossible. The situation escalated when Tyler began using Nikki's children as a tool to control her. He threatened to prevent her from seeing them if she didn't comply with his demands. For Nikki, her children were her entire life, and this threat became an extremely effective means of control. Nikki's extended family, though they noticed changes in her, didn't fully grasp the severity of the situation. In a society where domestic violence is often hidden, and few want to interfere in others' private matters, warning signs were easily overlooked. They thought every couple had conflicts, and Nikki and Tyler were no exception. The situation worsened as Tyler began isolating Nikki from her support system. He found ways to prevent her from participating in community activities she once loved, stopped her from meeting friends, and even limited the time she spent with her family. Each severed connection brought Tyler closer to having total control over Nikki's life. The final months of 2023 saw an alarming escalation in the level of violence. Tyler was no longer satisfied with just hitting or threatening verbally. He began using more sophisticated methods of torment, designed not only to inflict physical harm, but also to destroy Nikki's spirit. Binding, gagging, and confinement became regular occurrences. Nikki, once a strong and independent woman, gradually became a shadow of herself. She lived in constant fear, unsure when Tyler would next erupt in anger or what action of hers would become an excuse for a new wave of violence. She learned to move quietly in her own home, to speak carefully to avoid provoking Tyler, and to disappear when she sensed the signs of an impending outburst. These months also revealed a completely different Tyler, a highly manipulative individual. After each violent episode, he would become a caring husband, apologizing and promising to change. He bought flowers, wrote heartfelt letters, and expressed deep remorse. These moments gave Nikki hope, making her believe Tyler truly wanted to change and their marriage could be saved. But the cycle of violence continued, each time more intense than before. A phase of building tension, followed by an explosion of violence, then a period of remorse and affection. Before returning to tension again, Nikki was trapped in this vicious cycle, unable to escape or find a way to stop it. Finally, on a late November day in 2023, things crossed a line that even Nikki could no longer endure. What happened that night would become the most critical evidence in the case, and the first time the outside world saw the truth about the hellish marriage Nikki McCain had endured for years. November the 29th, 2023 will forever be remembered as a tragic turning point in Nikki McCain's life. During those 3 horrific hours, Tyler displayed a level of brutality that even those closest to Nikki could not have imagined. The incident began with what seemed like a routine argument. But this time, Tyler crossed every boundary he had previously set for himself. For 3 hours, he turned the small house in Reading into a chamber of torture. Nikki was repeatedly struck in the face, with vicious punches that left her beautiful face swollen and disfigured. Tyler didn't stop at beating her. He brutally pulled her hair and poured water on her to heighten her humiliation and pain. Most terrifyingly, he used duct tape to bind her ankles and wrists, turning her into a prisoner in her own home. The tape over her mouth not only silenced her cries for help, but also instilled a fear of death by suffocation. In those darkest moments, Nikki truly believed she would not survive. That overwhelming fear drove her to make the bravest decision of her life to report Tyler to the police. On May 17, 2024, Nikki was last seen at Mercy Medical Center in Redding. She returned home, and her phone last connected to the network around 3 a.m. on May 18th. After that moment, Nikki McCain vanished completely from life, leaving only unanswered questions and profound pain for those who loved her. On May 22, 2024, Chloe McCain made a phone call that could be said to have changed everything. With a trembling voice filled with worry, she reported to the Shasta County Sheriff's Office that her sister, Nikki Salee McCain, was missing. What alarmed Chloe was not just the inability to contact Nikki for days, but also the history of domestic violence she was aware of, and her sister's unusual silence. The Shasta County Sheriff's Office didn't waste time responding. They understood that when a woman with a history of domestic violence goes missing, the consequences could be severe. Within hours of Chloe's report, an investigative team was formed, including the county's most experienced detectives, 3 days after the report. On May 25th, detectives had enough evidence to obtain a search warrant for the home Nikki and Tyler shared. The search was conducted meticulously and professionally, with the assistance of forensic experts and evidence collection technicians. They knew that every detail, no matter how small, could be the key to solving the case during the search. Detectives collected several valuable pieces of evidence, while specific details of these items were kept confidential to protect the integrity of the investigation. It was clear that what they found was enough to heighten concerns about Nikki's fate. Each item was collected, labeled, and carefully preserved, potentially becoming a crucial piece in the story of what happened to Nikki McCain. On the same day as the home search, another significant discovery was made. Nikki's Chevrolet Avalanche was found by a local resident in a remote area near Highway 36, close to the small town of Platina, on the border of Shasta and Tehama counties. This location, far from Nikki's usual haunts, immediately raised questions. When detectives examined the vehicle, they found disturbing evidence in the truck bed. They discovered a white cloth stained with blood and other marks that couldn't be identified by the naked eye. But perhaps most alarming was the foul odor emanating from the truck bed, a smell that experienced detectives could recognize immediately. This stench was not something to be ignored for those experienced in investigating serious crimes. The smell was often associated with biological decomposition. The combination of the odor, the bloodstains, and Nikki's disappearance painted a troubling picture of what might have happened. Samples from the vehicle, including the cloth and stains, were sent to a forensic laboratory for analysis. The process required time and precision, but the results provided critical information. DNA analysis confirmed that the blood on the cloth belonged to Nikki McCain. This was the first evidence proving that Nikki had been injured, possibly severely. Additionally, forensic experts found Tyler's DNA on some items in the vehicle. However, it's important to note that Tyler's DNA was not found on the blood or bodily fluids. only on other items. This raised complex questions about Tyler's role in what happened in the weeks that followed. The investigation expanded significantly. Detectives conducted dozens of interviews with Nikki's family members, friends, neighbors, and colleagues. Each interview aimed to build a complete picture of Nikki's life in the days, weeks, and months before her disappearance. Field searches were also organized, involving hundreds of community volunteers. They scoured forests, valleys, and wilderness areas around Redding and Platina. Search teams were supported by K-9 units, drones, and ground-penetrating radar. Despite tireless efforts, no trace of Nikki was found. Tyler's silence throughout the investigation became a notable factor. While Nikki's family and friends actively cooperated with the police, Tyler was evasive and uncooperative. He refused to participate in searches, didn't appear at press conferences calling for information, and limited communication with detectives. As months passed without news of Nikki, pressure from the community and her family grew. In March 2025, the district attorney's office made a significant announcement. They were officially investigating the case as a homicide, even though Nikki's body had not been found. This was a serious decision, reflecting the investigators' confidence in the evidence they had gathered. To support the investigation, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security joined with additional resources and expertise. They conducted a second search of the home on Ulinda Lane, using more advanced equipment and techniques. The involvement of federal agencies underscored the importance and complexity of the case. A critical turning point in the investigation occurred on April 1, 2025, when Tyler was stopped by police near the intersection of Highway 299 and Dusty Oaks Trail. The initial reason for the stop was Tyler's erratic driving. He was seen throwing items out of the vehicle and driving improperly. These actions caught the attention of a patrol officer, who decided to conduct a check. When officers searched Tyler and his vehicle, they made a shocking discovery. In Tyler's wallet, they found Nikki's driver's license, partially burned. The fact that Tyler possessed his wife's burned driver's license nearly a year after her disappearance raised serious questions. Additionally, a check of Tyler's records revealed multiple prior convictions for driving with a suspended license. This not only explained why he had Nikki's license, but also indicated a pattern of disregard for the law throughout the investigation. Detectives also worked with several confidential sources. While details about these sources were not disclosed, the information they provided became a vital part of building the case against Tyler. These sources may have included people who knew Tyler, witnessed suspicious behavior, or had information about his whereabouts during critical times. Based on the totality of the evidence from the documented history of domestic violence, the evidence from Nikki's vehicle, the DNA and blood found, Tyler's uncooperative behavior, and information from confidential sources, detectives concluded that Tyler McCain was responsible for Nikki's death and disappearance. Investigators believe Tyler's motive was to prevent Nikki from testifying in the pending domestic violence case from the November 2023 incident with Nikki's disappearance. The domestic violence charges were dismissed in July 2024 due to the lack of a key witness. However, those charges would now be reinstated alongside the far more serious charge of murder. August 20, 2025, marked a significant milestone in the Nikki McCain case when Tyler Scott McCain was formally arrested. After over a year of meticulous investigation, The evidence was strong enough for the district attorney's office to charge Tyler with the most serious accusations possible. Tyler's arrest was carried out calmly but decisively. Detectives, who had been monitoring him for months, waited for the right moment to execute the arrest warrant. As Tyler was handcuffed and led away, neighbors witnessed a scene many had long anticipated. Tyler was taken to the Shasta County Detention Center and held without bail. The decision to deny bail reflected the severity of the charges and the risk Tyler posed to the community if released. Those in the legal field understood that in murder cases, especially those involving domestic violence, denying bail was common. The list of charges Tyler faced reflected the complexity and gravity of the case. The primary and most serious charge was murder, with aggravating circumstances. The aggravating factor was that Tyler killed Nikki to prevent her from testifying in the pending domestic violence case. This was a particularly serious circumstance in the legal system, as it involved not only murder but also obstruction of justice. The next 4 charges stemmed from the horrific events of November 2023, when Nikki bravely reported Tyler's brutal attack to the police. These charges included causing bodily injury to a spouse, a serious crime reflecting deliberate and cruel violence. The charge of unlawful detention reflected Tyler's act of binding and gagging Nikki, turning her into a prisoner in her own home. The charge of criminal threats indicated that Tyler used words and actions to instill extreme fear in Nikki, making her believe she could die. Finally, the charge of assault causing serious bodily injury reflected the level of violence Tyler used, leaving visible injuries on Nikki's body. In addition to the charges directly related to Nikki, Tyler faced charges for illegal possession of weapons and ammunition. This was particularly serious because it occurred after a criminal protective order had been issued to protect Nikki. The order prohibited Tyler from contacting Nikki and possessing weapons, but he violated these conditions. Another, seemingly unrelated but significant charge was forging a signature on a joint tax check on May 29, 2024. Notably, this occurred just days after Nikki's disappearance, suggesting Tyler attempted to use his wife's identity for financial gain while she was missing. Additional charges stemmed from the April 1, 2025 incident, when Tyler was stopped by police. His possession of Nikki's burned driver's license led to several charges, including those related to the use of another person's identification. Tyler's first court appearance was scheduled for the afternoon of August 20, 2025, just hours after his arrest. This was a critical hearing not only for Tyler, but also for the entire Shasta County legal system. District Attorney Stephanie Bridget, who had followed the case from the beginning, made a significant statement. This was the first no-body homicide case prosecuted in Shasta County. This meant prosecutors would have to prove Tyler's guilt without the most direct evidence, the victim's body. This presented a significant legal challenge, requiring a tight integration of circumstantial evidence, scientific evidence, and witness testimony, if convicted of murder with aggravating circumstances. Tyler could face the harshest penalty under California law, life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole. This sentence reflected the severity of the crime and sent a strong message that society does not tolerate domestic violence or murder to obstruct justice. Nikki's family, particularly her sister Chloe and Kay Sale Ford, expressed strong confidence in the prosecution team. They believed that after over a year of meticulous investigation, the collected evidence would be strong enough to ensure justice for Nikki. Kay Sale Ford expressed faith in the legal system and the investigators who worked tirelessly to resolve the case. Although Tyler McCain has been arrested, Nikki's body still has not been found, and finding her remains a top priority for the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. They are calling on anyone with information about the case or Nikki's possible whereabouts to contact the Shasta County Major Crimes Unit, with a $30,000 reward offered for information leading to Nikki's discovery. Nikki's family, with the support of the community and volunteers, is committed to continuing the fight for justice, Chloe said. I didn't come this far just to stop here. If this is what it takes, we will keep fighting. Kay. Sale Ford emphasized that the family is supporting each other and prepared for the long legal journey ahead. The online community has played a significant role in spreading Nikki's story, though some criticism has been directed at the police for a lack of transparency. Sheriff Michael Johnson explained that withholding information was necessary to protect the investigation's integrity. Now, with Tyler's arrest, the family and community hope that those with information will feel safe enough to come forward, helping bring Nikki back to her family. Nikki Salee McCain, with her sincerity and kindness, left a powerful legacy, inspiring hundreds from friends and family to strangers to continue